Some women have a sixth sense about these things, but I was not one of them. I thought I was blind to nothing, that I saw the world for what it was. But when it came to Hunter, my second husband, I was as oblivious as they come. We met in this close-knit Latino community in San Antonio, where everyone knows everyone. He was charming, handsome, and made me feel like I was the only woman in the world. I was still reeling from my first marriage, and he swept in like a knight in shining armor. I thought I would found my forever love. The first few years were blissful. We'd spend hours talking, laughing, and exploring the city together. He'd take me on romantic getaways, and I would feel like a queen. But as time went on, I started to notice little things. He'd leave the room to text someone back, and I would wonder who it was. He'd get defensive whenever I asked about his day, like I was prying into his business. And he'd take calls in another room, speaking quietly, like he did not want me to overhear. I brushed it off as paranoia. I mean, why would he be hiding anything from me? We were married, in love, and building a life together. But the doubts lingered, gnawing at the back of my mind. I would always been a strong, independent woman, but with Hunter, I felt like I was walking on eggshells. I could not remember the last time I would felt truly happy. It was not until I found a strand of hair that was not mine on his collar that I started to investigate. I felt a knot in my stomach, like I would been punched in the gut. I tried to brush it off, told myself it was just a hair, but I could not shake the feeling that something was off. That's when I started to dig deeper. I went through his phone, his emails, his messages. And then I found it, a love letter from another woman, tucked away in his gym bag. My heart stopped. I felt like I had been dropped into a nightmare. The letter was dated 6 months ago, but as I read on, I realized they'd been together for years, longer than we'd even been married. I felt like I had been living in a lie. I did not know what to do, so I did nothing. I just sat there, numb, as the world around me crumbled. I thought about all the times he'd lied to me, all the times I would doubted myself. The gaslighting, the manipulation, it was all too much. But I knew I could not stay there. I packed a bag and left, not knowing where I was going or what I would do. I ended up at my sister's house, crying on her shoulder as she held me tight. "You do not have to go back to him," she said, her voice firm. "You deserve so much better." I knew she was right, but a part of me still loved Hunter. I still loved the man I thought he was, the man I would fallen in love with. As I sat on my sister's couch, I realized that I had been living in a dream world. I would ignored the red flags, convinced myself that everything was fine. But it was not fine. It was far from fine. I started to piece together the truth. I would found out that he'd been taking out loans in my name, over $25,000, to fund his midlife crisis sports car and his affair. He'd been lying to me, manipulating me, and using me for his own gain. I felt a wave of anger wash over me, followed by a deep sadness. I had been so blind, so trusting. I would given him everything, and he'd thrown it all back in my face. But as I looked in the mirror, I saw a woman who was strong, resilient, and determined. I was done being a victim. I was done being a fool. I knew I had to confront him, to make him face the truth. I gathered my evidence, my proof, and headed to his house. I was ready to ambush him, to make him see the error of his ways. As I stood outside his door, I felt a sense of calm wash over me. I was ready. I took a deep breath. And then I knocked. The door opened. And there he was, smiling like he'd just won the lottery. "Hey, babe," he said, like nothing was wrong. I looked him straight in the eye, my voice firm. "We need to talk." And then I let it all out. The loans, the affair, the lies. I showed him the proof, the irrefutable evidence that he'd been living a life of deceit. He tried to deny it, to gaslight me once again. But I was not having it. I stood my ground, my voice rising. "You used me," I said, my eyes blazing. "You used me for your own gain, and you hurt me. You hurt me so badly." He looked at me, a mixture of shame and anger on his face. But I did not care. I was done. "I want a divorce," I said, my voice firm. "I want out of this marriage, out of this life. I deserve better." As I walked away from him, I felt a sense of freedom wash over me. I was finally free from the toxic relationship, free from the lies and the manipulation. It was not easy, but I did it. I stood up for myself, and I took back control. I realized that I was worth more than the pain he'd caused me. As I looked to the future, I knew that I had a long road ahead of me, but I was ready. I was ready to heal, to move on, and to find my true self. I was ready to live again.